Procrastination, we all do it, right? But most of us don't get the real reason why. So today we're going to dig into the surprising science behind why your brain loves to delay things, and we'll look at a simple, kind of counterintuitive way to get back in control.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. You sit down, you're ready to be productive, you open your laptop, and then poof, 45 minutes are just gone, lost to a social media black hole. And the only thing you've actually accomplished is giving yourself a nice, heavy dose of guilt. It's a cycle, and it is so frustrating.
But what if I told you this isn't about being lazy? It's not a moral failing. It's a trick, a really clever ancient trick that your own brain is playing on you. And the key to beating it is to first understand, how the magic trick actually works.
So first up, let's just bust the biggest myth about procrastination. Because to solve this puzzle, we have to realize we've been looking at the wrong problem this whole time.
See, we've always been told that procrastination is a time management problem. So we try to fix it with planners and to-do lists and apps, and it never really sticks. Why? Because we're treating the wrong disease. The reality is, this has nothing to do with your schedule. Procrastination is an emotional regulation problem. It's a coping mechanism for dealing with difficult feelings. Okay, so if it's all about feelings, then we need to understand the battle for control that's happening inside our heads. It's this constant tug of war, and, well, your productivity is the rope. On one side, you've got your logical brain. Think of it like your inner CEO, planning for the future, thinking about goals. But on the other side, you have your emotional brain. That's your inner caveman, and it is only focused on one thing, surviving right now by avoiding any and all discomfort. So in a head-to-head fight for what you do in this very moment, which one do you think usually wins?
And this is the key. When a task makes you feel overwhelmed, or maybe it's just boring or confusing, or you're just plain scared of failing, your emotional brain slams that big red panic button. It completely floods your system with a sense of nope, and it hijacks your attention, steering you toward literally anything that offers immediate relief. And, well, hello, YouTube rabbit hole.
And that escape, it feels good for a second, right? But what it's really doing is locking you into this vicious cycle, a feedback loop that just gets stronger and harder to break every single time you do it. Here's how that trap works. First, you plan to do the task, but just thinking about it triggers anxiety or resistance, so you avoid it. You find a distraction. And for a moment, you get this sweet hit of relief. But that relief quickly turns into guilt. Now, here's the kicker. The next time you think about that task, you don't just feel the original anxiety, you also feel the guilt from last time. The negative feeling is now stronger, which makes you even more likely to avoid it again. It's a perfect self-fueling loop. And this actually leads us to a really strange paradox. You'd think this cycle would only trap, lazy people, but the opposite is often true. It's the high achievers, the really ambitious ones who can get stuck in this trap the deepest. You see, for a lot of high achievers, their self-worth is tied directly to their performance. So the stakes just feel so much higher. Perfectionism takes over, and that fear of creating something that's less than perfect becomes so overwhelming that it feels emotionally safer not to start at all. They get stuck waiting for that perfect mood, that perfect moment of inspiration, a moment that, let's be honest, almost never shows up. Okay, that's enough doom and gloom about the problem. Let's talk about the fix. And the good news is, this isn't about just gritting your teeth and finding more willpower. It's about being smarter than your brain. It's about having the right tools in your toolkit. The big secret here is to make the first step so ridiculously small that your emotional brain doesn't even see it as a threat. Study for 2 hours? That sounds overwhelming, right? But open the book for 2 minutes? That sounds easy. The goal isn't to finish the task. The goal is just to start. Momentum will often take care of the rest. The second tool is simply this. Give yourself permission to be messy. Perfectionism is the enemy of done. So go ahead, write a terrible first draft, sketch out an ugly design, just get something down on the page. Remember, you can always edit a bad page, but you can't edit a blank one. This is a classic, the 5-minute rule, and it is a brilliant brain hack. You just make a simple bargain with yourself. I will only do this for 5 minutes. That's it. After 5 minutes, you have full permission to stop. But the funny thing is, starting is always the hardest part. Once you've gotten over that initial hump, you'll often find that you actually want to keep going. Look, your emotional brain is lazy. It will always take the easiest path. So you have to rig the game in your favor. Make your distractions harder to get to. Yeah, actually put your phone in another room. And at the same time, Make your work easier to start. Have your tools ready to go. You want to increase the friction for the bad habit and decrease it for the good one. All right, here's a hard truth. You will almost never feel like doing the hard thing. Your feelings are just terrible guides for productivity. So the trick is to stop asking them for their opinion. Ignore how you feel and ask a totally different question. What is the absolute smallest next physical action I can take? And all of this leads to the single most important mindset shift you can possibly make. We think we need motivation first, and then we can take action. But we've got it completely backward. The science is crystal clear. Action creates motivation. That tiny bit of progress is what generates the good feelings that make you want to keep going.
So let's tie all of this together with the final and most crucial mindset shift. This is about playing the long game and building a whole new way of operating.
Trying to overpower your emotional brain with sheer willpower is like trying to hold back the ocean with your bare hands. It's exhausting, and eventually, you're going to lose. The smarter approach isn't to fight harder, but to build better systems. Systems that make it easy to start small, and, really importantly, systems that make it feel emotionally safe to be imperfect. Because this is the end goal, right? A good system makes tasks feel smaller. It makes the fear of failure feel survivable. And it makes your progress visible. When you do that, you break the cycle. Instead of feeding that loop of anxiety and avoidance, you start building a new, positive cycle of action and motivation. So I'll just leave you with this question. Forget about the perfect outcome. Forget about how you feel. What is one tiny, imperfect, messy step you can take on something you've been avoiding right after this ends? Start small, start messy, just start.